Champion Contender Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Champion Contender Podcast. My name is Joseph J. Jones.
My name is Fabian Collymore.
I'm a singer-songwriter.
And I'm an ex-athlete for Great Britain.
And we interview the champs and the contenders of this world, all the way from my little pub in my back garden, the Champ and Contender. We interview people of all sorts. We interview musicians, artists, boxers, kickboxers, athletes, people that work in the music industry. And we've got a very dear friend of mine. We've known each other for years. Big part of my journey through music. Good friend, Ali Fletcher. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yes, lads. I'm actually buzzing to be here.
Good.
Because now I'm coming on after listening to loads of them myself. It makes you more of a fan.
Yeah. Oh, wicked.
You end up being like, oh, that's the podcast I listen to as well.
Oh, okay. Nice one.
I was just telling you before, I don't really listen to the music ones. The only ones I'm interested in is like the boxing, the football, or anything else, basically.
But that makes sense because
no offense to Dave Snedden, who I know he's a top bloke, but
you want to escape, don't you? You know,
yeah,
and it's like, I mean, my podcast I listen to are like the Confessionals and Sasquatch Chronicles and things like that.
I forgot you love that. Conspiracy theories, isn't it?
Oh,
you love that.
I want to get like someone who's been abducted and all this stuff, and just I'll be like that. Like
that's his side project phase.
Yeah, I know.
Trust me.
What's his name? Just done one, hasn't he? Johnny Vaughan. He's just done.
Has he?
Yeah, he's gone hard on it because he's had a whole UFO experience.
A friend of mine was developing a TV show about like the Beast of Bodmin and all that stuff, and I know that was right up your street.
Oh,
well.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I'd love. Listen, enough about.
Sorry.
For those who don't know you, Ali, tell us who you are and what you do.
My name's Ali Fletcher. I spent the last 20 years working in the music industry, that there or thereabouts, aging myself dramatically. Predominantly, I've spent that whole time working at major labels, working at major management companies, and yeah, also predominantly working in the field of A&R, which is artist and repertoire. It's really the development of talent, the kind of nurturing of young prospects, finding records, making records, delivering the audio, as you know, the most importantly, to the digital streaming platforms. But also I've been lucky enough to work with some really established people as well. So people that have already had a success of their career, looking to build it to another level and so forth. So yeah, it's been a long journey, mate.
Yeah.
So which artists have you been working with recently, and who are you working with at the moment?
At the moment and recently, I've just off the top of my head, catch me off guard. I've got to, there's an amazing singer called Perrie Edwards. Okay. She was the front woman of Little Mix.
Right.
She's now signed as a solo artist to Columbia Records, and we've been making her album for the last couple of years. Started putting out her first singles last year, and really just kind of digging in now, trying to finish that project and kind of, God willing, get a album out at the end of this year and get more hit singles under the belt. That's the plan for her. But you know, for as long as I'm always working on something of that stature, my passion, as I said at the start, is all about artist development. It's working on the new thing, working on the rawest thing, you know, being in the small venues, getting those very early wins. That's still the biggest buzz of it all. So along with her, I'm working with a kid called Alfie Dukes, who's from Brighton, who's majorly talented, and he's done 2-3 great EPs now, and he's just about ready to make that step up. Like he's doing 300-400 tickets in London, so he's doing tickets in Europe, so he's just building. Do you know what I mean? You remember what that was like. It's that you're right, you feel like you're on the cusp, and it's the tiny wins, the little radio plays here and there, just kind of like buzzes everyone. We actually found out today we're getting a sound like a billboard in the West End.
Oh, nice.
Like they put this a marketing thing, but like SoundCloud provide it for you. And just even that, just feeling like his spirit, feeling how he's 22 years old. He's
a win.
Buzzing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I'm buzzing for him, and like that feeling never gets old. So yeah, I'm working with those guys. Also doing some stuff in the dance world with a couple of really big acts in that in that lane. Like my job for them is a bit different. It's more about sourcing songs, finding records that might be interesting to them, that they might want to turn into dance tracks, or taking like instrumentals of theirs and finding the right writers to do kind of composition work and lyrical work, and kind of, you know, helping 6-minute dance records become 3-minute pop records ultimately. Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Well, for a little bit of a throw back a history between us for the listeners listening, and for those who don't know, so many people won't know. But, you know, I met you probably when I was about 20 years old. 20 years old.
2009, 10, I reckon. So 15 years ago.
15 years ago. And you was working
at Universal.
Future Records, wasn't it? Yeah. So with Gary Barlow.
Yeah, that's right.
I did this was like my second opportunity at a record label, and it didn't really go that way. It didn't work out. I got in front of Gary Barlow, done my stuff, told me you sound like a young Tony Adley and whatever.
Did he say that?
Yeah. He was into it. He loved it. So it was like, it's a weird thing, like when you're younger and you especially with socials wasn't a thing. You're waiting on tender hooks, like, are they going to sign me? But you was my contact.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were in talks, and you left Future Records, and we started a project together, which was Jones.
Yeah.
So we started that together, and then it was amazing. We had some amazing music, very Depeche Mode-esque.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Very influenced by the film Drive.
Yeah. Do you remember, mate?
Oh,
now.
Yeah.
Who wasn't at that time when that movie came out? It's like, that's who I want to be. That's how I want to sound. That's how I want it to look. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone
us along with every creative in the
everyone wanted to be Ryan Gosling, and everybody wanted to sound like Kavinsky.
You had no chance being Ryan Gosling, mate.
I've been told when I was younger I looked a bit like Jake Gyllenhaal, but then I was told I looked like Woody from Toy Story. It's like, yes. But no, we worked together on that project, and then Paul come into my life, who was my manager, who you introduced me to, and then you were going on to other things, and you was like, you've got a voice, go with this guy, and then...
Yeah, that's right. Well, going into that, though, like, it's funny, because when we were talking about, I was saying, aged myself, so I've been doing this for 20 years, so it's actually 2005 was the last time I had, like, a day job, I worked at the Levi's store in Brighton. And really since then, I've just been, hustling, kind of working in and out of stuff. And the reason I bring that up is because when I started, I was writing and producing music. That when I was working in the Levi's store, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to write, I wanted to produce, I wanted to like discover artists, develop them in the studio rather than necessarily the boardroom or doing it on that side of things. And when that kind of momentum in what I was doing in my early 20s kind of faded, and if I'm honest, brutally honest, I realized I wasn't good enough to some extent to whom I was competing with at the time, like that era of artists that was coming up then. I kind of took the side hustle and I kind of went into the scouting part of it, which is ultimately an extension of what I was doing, is finding talent, having a concept for them, helping them build it. And, it's not too different to what I do today, but I moved into the major label side of things to kind of take that skill set in there. And that's how I came across you. And I remember that as much as I enjoyed working with Gary, working at Universal, I mean, I actually spent time with Gary last summer. Still the same top guy, hardest working person in showbiz, no doubt about it. Like, honestly, 8 days a week. But even while I was in there, and I was in my mid-20s at that point, like, it wasn't enough creativity for me. Like, I was having an effect, but not enough of an effect. And as I'd learned stuff along the ways of how to kind of channel my ideas in a more constructive way than I used to do it, that's when, while I was in the label, I was like, cool, I need to find new talent. I need to find new, extraordinary vocalists and start to kind of use my brain in the way that I wanted at that stage. And that was, Project A, Project B, whatever you want to call him, that was Joseph. And the best thing for me about you in that situation, bro, is because you'd kind of been through the shitter with the industry probably twice by that point. No shit, listen, it's is what it is. But because you'd been through it and you knew it was long, I kind of already had this thing where I was like, I know I could offer this guy or people like this, like, I guess a more direct pathway. Be like, listen, why don't we take this project together? Why don't we build this persona together? And let's tackle it from that angle rather than just being like, da-da, I'm Joe Gibbons. Let's create something. And You know, I definitely think you benefited from that. I loved it. I got to like have that relationship and control in the situation. And if anything, the experience of building that thing with you then gave me the confidence to go back into a major label three years later or something like that and know who I was. I was like, cool, you know what? I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Even though I'd gone off piste to do it, like it gave me the lift I needed to do it.
Yeah. What qualities do you look for in an artist when you're signing them?
I think historically I'll always stand by the vocal. Like I'm one of those guys. Everyone's got a different thing, and my thing has always been a unique vocal, something that, you know, you put on the radio, and whether you like it or hate it, you're like, oh, that's that guy or that's that woman. You know straight away who they are. It cuts through. That's always my go-to. It's always been my go-to. I've definitely had to evolve and adapt over the last few years because the industry has evolved and everyone has to adapt. And I think more than ever now, I still go for the unique sound and the soul in someone's voice. I think that's the kind of the best way to describe it. But I'm definitely now looking for vision, ambition, drive, all those things. Whereas I think probably when I met Joseph, for example, I was happy to carry all of that. I'd be like, bro, you've just got an amazing voice, do your thing. And if, you know, probably not doing him a disservice, I was less interested in hearing what he had to say and more be like, listen, I've got this idea, I've got it all in here, trust me. And like, but that was just young and dumb. Do you know what I mean? As I've gotten older, I've learned sometimes the hard way, but you know, it's really progressed me and what I do to, you know, make sure it's always about the artist. It's all about their vision. They're the, you know, sounds corny, but they're the CEOs. You know, we work for them, we're assisting them. And so I think going back at the start, it was vocals, and now it's vision is number one, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was quite happy for you to take the load because my thing was always train the voice, get the voice sounding as big and as quality as possible. And it's funny because you sort of lose the idea of becoming an artist in that way, you know, because if you let someone take control, but that's what the music industry was like. You just want a good voice, and then these guys do the rest for you, so to speak. But like you sort of touched on it really. They're like the CEOs. But what are you looking for? Are you looking for like the numbers play more of a role, or is it solely, you know, this guy or girl or whoever has got something special and let's grow it?
Yeah, I think it's a personal thing to your character.
Right.
What do I need to get out of bed every morning and feel motivated to go to, like, we all want, everyone has a different answer to that question. Yes, anyone working in my field wants amazing voice, amazing this, amazing that, amazing that. But what are like the key ingredients? Like with anyone, the older you get, the less you suffer fools. So for me, a massive part of it is work ethic. Yeah. Like I can't, I enjoy the grind. You know, I've got a family now, so I have to, like, you know, it's not as much as it used to be. But a part of this job, a part of the arts is hand in hand with arts is obsession.
Yeah.
You know? And unless you're obsessed, unless you're a fan, unless you're nerdy about it, like I personally don't think that's not going to work with me if you're not like that. If you're like laissez-faire, if you're like, yeah man, whatever about this whole thing, that's not going to work for me. So definitely with my favorite artists that I've worked with in my career have been ones that are willing to go toe to toe with you on work ethic. And I think now it's the non-negotiable. I think it's a non-negotiable to have a career in music regardless, but to work with me, that's and what I kind of expect from anyone I'm working with.
It's funny because, I mean, this podcast now feels a bit like how I felt with music as a youngster. Because it's very fresh to me. It's a new thing. People come in, talk to us, we edit it. It's actually like editing a song, a very long song.
Yeah.
But it's like, the reason I sort of talk about like what do you look for, I suppose, because eventually we're going to look for like sponsorships, things like that. And we're going to like, are they going to look at the numbers or are they going to look at what we know the guest sees in that they come in the pub, they go, wow, this pub's, you know, it's my pub, but like it's good, you know, like the conversation's interesting people, you know, the Champ's been there and done it, the Contenders up on the rise and things like that. So it's funny because I'm very much the artist that I wanted to be now, but it's yet to be seen. Yeah. And with something like this, it's a tool within your, you know, your toolbox, so to speak, to be like, all right, here I am then. Yeah. You are playing chess a little bit.
Yeah, but you know what, mate? I think you should, enjoying it. Yeah. And it being the favourite thing in your day in your life is the most important thing. And I think the moment you have that in you, and mate, I felt it when honest to God, like not bull, like when obviously I've known you a long time, like you're, you know, people I know listen to this are going to cringe me saying this. Your energy is fucking. It reminds me of when I met you when you were young. Like the way you are, and I know you're what I describe. You're nerdy. You'll be like, I've got to get this done. I have to finish this. I know your mentality.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? It has to. But you guys are like the equivalent of a new band that people are talking about. That like, you know, you're seeing the numbers one by one go up, like that extra comment on Spotify, I bet it gives you a buzz, innit? Oh, mate, and then when you're massive, you're going to be like, I don't even check the Spotify. And like, unfortunately, it just happens to everyone, basically. These are the great moments. And honestly, the drug I'm addicted to in the music industry, which is why, you know, I intend to do this. There's no retirement age for me, is because, you know, I'll always come back for that dopamine. I'll always come back thinking that the next thing and that next day and that next song can change your life and can like inspire you. And especially in the field that I work in, you know, it involves young people the majority of the time. Like I've been
sucking off the youth.
Oh, steady on, mate. Got family listen to this. That's the old me. But yeah, it's just, you know, being excited every day, letting that give you the edge. Like that's, and don't get me wrong, man, I've had many phases in my career when I've lost that, and you know, you lose sight. I've had one not that long ago, and you kind of lose sight of what you're doing it for. You know, money gets involved, pressures get involved, lots of things. But you know, nothing's perfect all the time. But what I do know, and it kind of gets me through my slumps, is that these moments, starting, you know, that first year of the pod feeling, that kind of me. I've found a kid recently who's a bricklayer in Scunthorpe, and he's just amazing. Right. And he's 19, and there's like, it's so new. But getting one of his songs, man, just getting one of his early demos where, you know, he doesn't even know his arse from his elbow to some extent, but it's the buzz. It's still the buzz, you know, and that's what keeps us all going.
Before we continue with today's episode, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Blackburn & Co. '01277 674299. Or better yet, to go to their website, click on the link in our bio on Instagram, or click on the link in our bio on YouTube. Right, back to today's episode. Yeah, it's about, you know, getting yourself up and out there, right? And it is much of a thing for me. Like I was thinking this the other day, like especially with this podcast, like I with the music now, it's not become secondary. It's always like in line. But I just made a decision to myself, and I was like, what makes you happy with your music? And like that chase of it now, having to play shows to like no one and stuff like that, I'm done with it. It's like, well, what are you happy with in music? And I was like, I'm actually happy recording my music, self-funding it, and putting the music out. Just to see, you know, if I had a song every 2 months that was just released out, and then I wanted to do my own album, my own EP, just to see that like, I've developed it and done it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. Like that for me is enough. Like, and if you could throw in like playing 1,000 cap rooms every now and then, amazing.
But mate, honestly, like when I was even thinking of talking to you today, when the mics were off about you, and you know, I'll do it on air now. F it.
Yeah.
But that is the mentality you have to have, mate. Like, 'cause I said this to you last time I saw you, do not let these days slip away. Do not let these songs that you've written about periods of your life slip away from you. Like, all that matters, your commitment to this craft, you know, to being an artist, to being a writer, is to make those works public, you know, and they're not going to ever be defined by a number on Spotify or a number on Instagram. They're and you know, it's you. They're the best representation of you can leave your kids, or you know, your family. And I just think it's really important for you right now to just get that kind of stream of releases going, put out music that's backlogging, get it out, start writing new stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you like me said, I'm not going to retire. You ain't going to stop. I don't care what anyone says. You ain't going to stop making music. No. Even if this goes to the biggest thing in the world, you'll still be like, you know what, Fabs, I need time to kind of go and write some stuff. Like,
yeah.
So don't, you know.
No, and I've got all those songs in my arsenal, and it's like finally the first one will be out. I mean, we've time logged these. You know, the first one will be out long before this is out.
Okay.
So, which is
famous last words.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, put Ali to season 5.
But yeah, so the 21st of this month. So I won't say the thing, but finally coming out, and it's like, oh, thank God, you know, it's coming out. It's going to see the world. But like you say, it is very much like, what you're doing, just get it out there, man.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
You can be such a, with these.
Yeah.
Like, and I see it in the same way every episode to me. Like, Fabe does all the visuals, so all the videos, I do all the audio. They're my songs.
Yeah.
Me and my son.
Yeah, and your son. Yeah. But and we're creating a team now, and it's building nicely, and we're like, right, well, this is fun. Like, there is, like you say, I get up every morning, you know, obviously think about my wife and my child who's to come, and then like, bang, you know, pod. What we're going to do? Let's go. Anyway, this is about you, Ali.
What's your favourite project that you've worked on?
Other than Jones.
Yeah. No, I'm going to... Such a tough question, mate. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time now. You know, as a part of me, because it's the ones I'm living in right now. Like I said, working with Perrie, you know, she is one of the warmest people I've ever met, and you know, she's just real as and it doesn't matter. It's the proof that, you know, doesn't matter what success can give you or financial rewards or whatever. Like, if you're a real person, you can stay that way. I mean, I've often believed, once you become famous, you're just going to be a weirdo. You're going to be annoying, whatever. And
she stayed.
I mean, listen, I don't think that now, but maybe the ignorant me when I was younger might think that's what happens to famous people. People out there think that's what happens to famous people, but she's proof that it ain't. Like, she's still... I didn't know her when she was living up in Newcastle, but she reminds me of, I can imagine that what she was like. Her mum's still always around. Shout out to Debs. Her cousin's around. Do you know what I mean? She's proper. So her and this, you know, like I was saying, this kid Alfie that I've been working with, he's 22 from Brighton. He's got stars in his eyes. You know, he wants to go for it. So I love what I'm doing now. I think if I had to like do a little recall,
top three?
Oh, well, it's got to be Grennan. Grennan is, you know, that's because that's as an A&R, it's the story you want. It's the thing you want to do. It's the thing when I was getting into A&R that you dream of doing. You know, you see a 20-year-old or 19-year-old in a pub in front of 10 people, and he's got an exceptional voice, and you know, it just goes from there. And
so how did that come about? Did you just walk in a pub and see him?
Yeah, I'll say that for the story, but no. Listen, the reality of it is, you know, my trade is A&R, but there's incredible scouts out there now. I did scouting when I was younger. It's a part of the course, it's what you have to do. But a scout put me on it. Scout put it onto a friend of mine, Daniel. He put it onto me. He was like, "You need to come and see this kid. I heard he's got one song." I rolled down there, but this is everyday life. You do this 5, 6, 7, 8 times a week. Yeah. And there was a boozer in Finsbury. And yeah, he was there. He was singing covers. It was like, you would have done the covers. It's your sort of covers. It's like cliche covers. Had a couple of his own. He was playing with mates from his uni band. I remember there was a big lad with white dude with dreads. It was all over the shop basically. But he had a couple of bangers already. And I chatted with him after, and this was the key part of it. Like, so after, I was like, I got to chat to this kid. So I started chatting. His mum's there. And quite quickly we get onto football, and he's like, "Who do you support?" And I'm like, "Luton Town." He's like, "Oh, I'm from Bedford. I used to play for Luton Town as a youth team player." And I was like, "What?"
Meant to be.
The show went from like a 7 to a 9, and then I started chatting to his mum, and so we kind of, because it built from that proper place, and because it built from him being, you know, effectively nowhere. Me, even though I was, you know, 30, I hadn't had that type of success before, or I hadn't built something like that. And, you know, and those first couple of years were just like all the tick boxes, like doing, you know, Jules Holland, Soccer AM, NME Awards, Brit Awards, Mobo Awards. Do you know what I mean? Like all that sort of stuff that you don't want to be a wank and say like, that's what I'm into. But when you're young, you do want to do that stuff.
You tune into Jules Holland and went, "Oh, that was my dream." Like, it's funny because I always wonder, and it's a nice thing, like, had we not have parted, because I always remember that idea of like, I want the geezer who sings the emotional, heartfelt songs. Always. And like, just because of turnaways or whatever, we didn't separate. We've always been mates, but it was just like, I got down this route, and then Tom Grennan come into your life, sort of thing. It was like, oh, like in hindsight, it's a powerful thing, right? Yeah. But I wonder if we'd have stayed, it would have been like, because my thing was like the boxer who sings all these emotional songs, and then he was like the footballer that sings all these emotional songs.
And he's loves boxing. No, mate, totally. Listen, it's probably like, you know, sound like my shrink here. It's definitely looking into my soul, what I'm into, basically. Yeah. And you know, even this kid that I've started developing now, like I said, he works on a building site of his old man in Scunthorpe, and it's soul music, there's a realness to it. But I think, but on the Grennan thing, I was just going to say, like, because I'm just thinking of those moments, like after Jules Holland, we all jumped in the car and we went and got McDonald's drive-through, and like, that's what I remember, and and that's the that stays with you, you know, that sort of stuff. Listen, we got to do it all. We got to party in LA. We got funny stories in that world as well. But you'd always come home and you'd like, do you know what I mean? It'd be like we were mates. And his manager, John Dawkins, is an incredible bloke, and he's a good mate of mine. And I think everyone around it was on the come up. And I think that really always helps.
Was Gillette your idea, or?
No, I was long gone by that point.
Fair play. Look, you got to earn a couple of quid, didn't you?
Yeah, listen, do you know the one thing? And, you know, I stopped working with Tom after the first album, the first like full tour. So we'd done the first album, got to 5, found what I've been looking for had become his big tune. And that was, that had got used on Soccer Sunday or Super Sunday football. And he'd done Brixton Academy, done Royal Albert Hall, and that's when I went. And, you know, and I would say though, Tom was never shy in saying, even back then, that he wanted to be, you know, pop star. He wanted to be, you know, big. Yeah. He wasn't in this to be like a cool indie kid. And, you know, so to answer your Gillette thing, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not surprised he's done it. Do you know what I mean? Because that's who he wanted to be.
Look, I don't say it like taking the piss. I say it's interesting to me that almost artists have to do that to earn a pound note now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think.
But do they?
I think so, because I don't think you get paid enough through streaming. I don't even think you get paid enough through doing live anymore, unless you're like on a level.
I think it can give you the margins. The margin of success it elevates, or the margin it elevates you like further on in your, towards your goal. You've got to try things. You've got to try things, because basically stagnating or staying level is the same as going down. And in the music industry, unfortunately, it's always been like that. Weirdly, it takes normally an artist to elevate, then go down, and then we're like, cool, let's have them back up again. But honestly, just if Tom must be on his 4th album by now, and it's like, you got to find the little 1% somewhere. You got to find the reason to connect, not just Debbie from Doncaster, but Debbie from Doncaster's auntie. Do you know what I mean? Or whoever. You got to try and pick that extra person and pull them into your, as they say in industry, universe.
But say something like that. Like, to me, it's like those moments are like when Wayne Rooney owned getting his hair tattooed in. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, he owned it. Who cares? If that was me and I was doing like a Gillette advert or whatever, I'd be like, just constantly in the shower with Gillette. Just own it. And I said, I think Tom did.
No, he has. He's put it out on Spotify.
I know. It's mental. But tell us about this. So someone like the kid from Scunthorpe, bricklayer and all that, how much of a role do you play in guiding him to a sound? I know you say it's soul, but soul is many avenues that he could go down. Like, what do you bring to the table for, what's his name, the lad?
Oh, Will Parker is his name.
So Will Parker, let's just say Project Will Parker.
Yeah.
Where do you go with that at a very early stage as an A&R?
Oh, it's the whole universe, mate. And that's the best thing at the very start. And the difference with the Will Parker thing is, unlike with Grennan or unlike with Alfie or Joy Crooks or other people I've worked with, like at the very start, like they've always had a team already, or they've had a manager. Whereas with Will, it's kind of me and him. It's two people, and we're figuring each other out. And I think where I start, and I don't care if this sounds pompous because this is my craft, but the psychological work is huge. And that's the biggest thing. I think that, I'd like to think that any of the young artists I've worked with is that, what I do really focus on at the start is obviously bettering their skill sets, so making them better writers, finding opportunities for them to build expertise, get to know people, but most importantly is help them grow up, because you have to grow up quickly in this industry. And you don't want to miss opportunities. You want to be ready for when opportunities are presented to you, because that's really important. So with Will, it's as much as putting him in the right opportunities to, obviously most importantly make incredible music, but also just communicating with him the whole way through it, asking him how he's feeling, telling him my read on situations. I mean, this is that I've obviously learned over time, but you'll remember that I always wanted, you kind of always want to create a bit of them and us as well. That's important. You got to be like, this is what we're doing. This is the path we're on. Like I said, we've got to your vision is what's going to drive us here. And I just do what I can to slowly but surely get him to understand what is going to be required of him if he's going to do this to the level that I believe he can get to.
Coaching a ring, it's almost like man management as well.
100%. It's all of that, mate. It's all of that. It's so important. For me personally, it's like making the records, as much as it is my favorite thing at this stage of my career, having done it for so long, is probably the easiest part of it. The bit that challenges me the most is the psychological part, is wanting them, trying to get the artist to their optimum place to create. That's what I'm trying to say.
The Jose of A&R.
No, I'm the Jose of 7-a-side football. Shout out to Herne Hill Legends. They'll be listening.
You're a goalie, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. You can manage when you're in goal.
We should have his shot stopper as goalkeepers. No, we won't.
Champion Contender team, mate. I'll set it up with you if you're ready.
Mate, I captained Emerson Elders. I was at Emerson Park School and all that, and then when we left, we got a kit, and I was more interested in what the badge looked like and creating the badge, but they made me captain. And I'll never forget, like, my mate Tony Brooks, who played for West Ham, and he was in the reserves, and he played with Dean Ashton, and he played with all those sort of 2007, 2009, you know, like Don Hutchinson, Ferdinand, not Rio. But you had all those guys, and like they remember him, and I remember, like, you know, we used to play in this thing, and he made me captain, and he was like, "Talk some, Joe, we were losing. Talk some, Joe, what to do?" And I'm like, "Go forth!"
Yeah, I mean, the state of your mates, if you're the posh one, Jesus Christ.
Nah. No, definitely not.
If we do a Champion Contender 5-a-side, we get Dean Ashton down.
Yeah, mate. Mate.
Ginge Collins down. That's what I mean.
Kevin Mitchell,
actually, I'll tell you another thing to go on the list of that we did with Grennan that we loved. We entered the Celebrity Soccer 6, and we won it.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was the thing. Another thing like that. That's what we got to do. Champion Contenders in that. I mean, it's the dregs these days. You only see like guys from the Darkness and like.
Yeah, I know.
It's definitely not like the YouTubers or anything like that.
No, my mate his brother's Kem.
Yeah.
So Kem and Tom are obviously good friends now, aren't they, and stuff like that. But I think he's a future one for the pod, old Kem. Interesting.
Try and get him on.
Yeah.
There's social media play a massive part in bringing up your, I was going to say athletes, your artists.
Nice specimens. What do you mean bringing them up?
Bringing them, do you have to focus on social media presence to get them more recognized?
Because it's part of the job now. Yeah. So, and you know, it's like me saying I don't want to do a part of my job. Like if I'm employed to do something, if I have an agreement with someone that I'm going to carry out a role, you know, a part of that, I have to carry out all the roles. I can't just, you know, knock a bit to the side if I don't fancy it. Now, there's obviously, in anything we do, there's bits of things we like more than others. I do think, you know, yes, I guess to answer your question, Fabs, dream scenario, you have an artist that loves writing, loves going studio, but also loves taking photos, doing visuals, building content. That's the dream. And I do think that is how I'm seeing young artists emerge. That is the modern artist. They know they have to have the full package. But if you're asking me, what do I look for? No, I would never, ever like commit years of my life to someone based on, yes, they have good stats. That's the last thing I'm thinking of. You know, if I'm thinking of wanting to work with someone for 12 months, you know, 24 months, hopefully a career, the only thing I care about is the ability. Yeah. And like I say, the drive. But I do think, you know, a commitment to not even forget the word social media, because obviously everyone's like, marketing, you know, which is still a bit to creatives. But marketing has been a part of the music industry since it started, since we started selling records. So it's no different then than it is now. And I would say I'd struggle to want to work with someone, even if they had all the ability that I wanted from an artist, if they just had no respect for marketing, if they didn't understand that was a part of how we were going to get their music and the art that we've worked on together to more people. Yeah.
How has A&R changed, in your opinion, with a lot of artists now maybe putting two fingers up to the industry and like getting them on board? Like a lot of independent artists, it seems like there's a bit of a wave at the moment, and we've had people in the chair saying like, you know, oh, I'm fed up with the music industry, it's not for me, we're doing it all on our own, we're creating this thing. You know, how does that, I mean, say you see someone that you love and they're just like, who do you work for? And it's like, oh, I work for so-and-so, so-and-so. It's like, no, I'm all right, thank you.
Yeah, it's like that.
Really? Is it really?
Yeah,
right.
Of course, it's you know, it's not, it's less cool than it used to be to sign to major labels. That's the reality of it. Yeah. And, you know, we all know that. And like I say, I'm pretty institutionalized myself. I've spent the best part of 10 years in and out of working at majors. So I've got a lot of respect, a lot of love, amazing people working in there. But you know, we should be excited by the fact that artists want to promote independence.
Yeah.
That is a big thing. Like it's only going to create more art. If more people, like, you know, from when I started, people thought, like yourself, well, I ain't going to make it unless I get a record deal.
Yeah.
That was just the mentality. And luck, you know, you're a 1 in 100 that goes, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get the record deal. The other 99 people basically down tools the moment they realize that's what you have to do. And, you know, and those 99, we might have lost some great artists in that time.
Yeah.
Whereas now, the moment you've got a bit about you and you've got some talent, you've got passion, you want to write some songs, the first thing anyone around an artist these days says, that's why loads of friends have become managers, which is, excuse me, an important thing, because kind of bit what I'm saying to you, like about putting your stuff out, really the most important role now is someone to like encourage you and push you over that line to release music. And, you know, waiting around for a major can sometimes take forever and you might miss your chance. So I think the opportunities that artists have in general to release independently, and that could be through an independent label or like literally independently uploading it yourself to DistroKid and just putting it out there, you know, that's brilliant, mate. That's absolutely brilliant.
It's funny because it's like, I remember got signed like twice in my life, and it was the feeling of like maybe a kid signing for West Ham, a kid signing for Arsenal. It was that feeling, and that's what makes me feel old. Like when everyone's like, "No, we do it on our own now." It's like we do it.
I'll be honest, you know, without naming names, but I know artists, plural, in the last year, like I know these artists, I know their managers, where they've signed for labels and they don't want to announce or let fans know, put any pictures on their socials. If you go on Spotify, it will say, you know, source of this audio normally says like Universal, Sony. They'll insist in their contract to Universal that it still states just their name. So they're giving off the energy that it's still independent to their friends, because it's like, you know, because that's a part of it. That's a part of often a lot of acts. That's a part of their brand.
Interesting. That's well interesting.
Yeah, I never would have thought that.
Well, it seems to have just fallen that far out of the tree that it is that uncool now to just be like, you know, I used to be.
I think it's not about it. I think it's less about being uncool for signing to a major and more about being cooler being independent. Do you see what I mean?
What goes around comes around, though, in anything.
Yeah, of course. This is why, you know, I don't know the question you're going to ask me, but like, you know, when you do these things, you work in music, you're like, what's the state of play in the music industry? Are we at an all-time low? Are we at an all-time high? You know, being this old now, like I've seen the ups and the downs and them come back around again. And you end up becoming more comfortable for the fact that it's just constantly evolving, and this phase will last for this period and then it will be another phase. And often even in sonics, it's almost cyclical by your watch. Do you know what I mean? Like all the stuff with, you know, when I was doing stuff with Craig, like on the second half of his career, you know, yes, there was loads of momentum for people's love for him, but really it was born out of that. I've always felt it was born out of the rebirth of garage music.
Craig David.
Sorry. Craig David.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, I look back now and like, you know, Disclosure, when they kind of brought back garage, that garage sound, and like, you know, garage had been gone for 15 years. And remember, I was like 15 when it came out. So by the time I'm 30, this is like that's what like old guys listen to. And then, but you see almost by your watch, same as drum and bass right now. Look at it. Like I'm in my third era of drum and bass coming back. And I'm sure garage is going to have another movement later down the line. So I guess going back to what I was saying about these things and this industry, like, you know, everything has its moment, everything moves on. There's always something else to be worried about. There's always something else to give us hope. And I think really in particular, kind of selfishly in my job and how I kind of sleep easy at night, is that really the nuts and bolts of what I do don't change. and I don't want them, and I can't let them change in my head. I can't become obsessed with social media. That's just not, that's not how I'm going to help an artist. I still have to just be focused on, you know, the talent, the development, and, you know, most importantly, the songs.
Yeah. What trends do you see gaining momentum at the moment?
I think I wouldn't call it a trend, but thankfully, I definitely feel like we're about to re-enter the era of authenticity, which is amazing. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, even though I'm a big dance guy and I come from that world, sometimes when you have a dance era, it can kind of, I think, cheapen the palette a little bit of the listener, and it can cheapen the ambitions of record labels, because it's almost like, you know what, it, why are we going to spend 3 years developing another Tom Grennan? Let's sign 10 drum and bass records, bang, they're ready, let's go. But that is like it's a can of Coke, mate. You open it, fizzes up nice, last 5 minutes, it's done. And you feel about it after. And I think the trend now, I don't want to call it trend, but, you know, I'm getting a feeling now that everyone in my like world, people that kind of do my job, or people that have other jobs within major labels, I think they know that patience and authenticity is the only way we're going to kind of keep building things. And I think I'm getting the feeling it's what, you know, consumers want more than ever now as well.
Yeah,
yeah, totally. But again, that's why I ain't been wigging out the last few years. Lockdown things up as well, because you've got to remember, during lockdown, it meant there was no live shows, no anything. You couldn't develop talent. I couldn't be in a room with an artist talking to them about their music. The artist couldn't be in session. So you're always going to have that, you know, that knock-on effect for that period. And in that period, everyone was like, okay, what's disposable? What is easy? And that's when, you know, dance music, God bless it, that's when it comes to the front, you know, in terms of what you're listening to and what you're making. But now I think that settled down and people are back in for the long haul, you know, the album artists, which thank God, like you say.
It's funny because obviously Dave Snedden come in and
how was he?
Oh, mate, he's such
what was he saying?
It's funny because I was going to say, like, even off camera, like when I'm doing writing sessions with Dave, it's like, they're going to be doing this now. Do you know what I mean? It's like he knows the pattern. Yeah, it's almost more than what people in the industry do, because he spends so much time with the artists. Yeah. He sees all these different artists, whether they're contenders or whether they're champs, moving towards a trend. You know, and it's funny because we had her in here, Shani White. It was amazing. I think she's quality. I think she's going to, you know, do good things. And he was like, I'm working with this girl, like, she is saying, like, I'm doing it all on my own. It's all authentic music again. It's guitars in her hand. It's like, you know, we're against this sort of thing. And he says, as soon as I met her, like, more artists were like that. Yeah. Like, just happening. Like, they never met, you know, it's just authentically happening like that. How do you, like, say you have artists on your roster and going forward with them, how do you, say you got someone who's going to blow, how do you market them to an international sort of base?
I mean, anyone that knows me will be listening to this going, like, geezer ain't had international hits. I'm not ashamed of it. Listen, I'm very proud. I'm actually proud doesn't even come close of, like, you know, the British music scene and what our country does as an export to this art form. We're a phenomenon. So that's my defense of only having domestic success. I only want it. No, but in all seriousness, I think at least being close to people that have had international success, I think, you know, mate, I've got to be honest with you, and this is the bit where, like, undoes all the things I've said. Luck comes into it, you know? Right. It comes about through that one song connecting in, you know, like, you've had it, mate. You get a little nibble in Germany, and all of a sudden you need to jump on that thing, that little, and then you start going, and all of a sudden you're number 78 in a region of Italy, and you go over there, and, like, it's still old school like that. Now, obviously, the thing that has switched up into in terms of like the song rather than the artist is Spotify. Now, see, this is the gift and the curse of Spotify is it can give your song a global success, but it very rarely instantly gives the artist a global success. Whereas before, you know, they went hand in hand. You know, if you were having a hit somewhere, the artist is having a hit. It's not just about purely the song. So I think, listen, you can write a song and it can have instant success around the world thanks to Spotify. But if you want to become an international artist, then you still got to do it the way you always had to do it and pick up your bag and travel, you know, and people are just less inclined to do that now. I think financially, obviously, it takes risk from everyone because it's like, cool, if you're getting a little sniff in Italy, like, cool, am I going to invest $5,000 in that to hopefully see 10 back? But I could put 5 down and the song might just slip out the charts and then I just lost $5,000 and that's $5,000. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to have a positive mentality with it, and you know, and labels have got to grab their a bit, basically.
Yeah, I was always gutted that the UK was like, I am such a UK guy, and it's a thing. It's not gutting, but it was like, oh, these other countries.
But do you know what's doubly jarring for that is that, you know, knowing the European market, not as an expert, but again, having done this for long enough, is that the one thing Europeans love is English blokes being English and having soul in their vocal, and, you know, like all different people, all different from you, but just even in the last era, like, you know, people forget now that George Ezra, Rag and Bone, all these guys, they all, Lewis Capaldi, like, he signed out of Germany. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
All these other, like, George Ezra blew up from a hit. His first song was a hit in Italy. Rag and Bone, Human, blew up, got a really like heavy German rotation. That's what made these records huge. That, you know, and that's.
But why does it do that? Why does it take Germany and Italy to see these artists?
I think in those particular cases and in that particular genre, like the genre Joseph is in as well, is that it goes back to what I said. It's like, it's history. It's like what we are. It's what we're known for. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's what we're bloody good at. Do you know what I mean? And people still sign up for that. Like, no matter where you go, anywhere in the world, you know, even the biggest country, the biggest business of it all in America, everyone will always give you the time of day if you're British and you want to talk about music. And I think that goes all the way through to the consumer, to you being, you know, what's the equivalent of Debbie from Doncaster? I don't know. So, like, Ethel from Munich. Yeah. Like, she's there and she's like, you know what? I always like an English geezer. Yeah. Loved Mick Hucknall, boom. Loved I know Tom Jones is Welsh, but like, do you know what I mean? She can go through the list and she's like, this is another one. I'll give it a go. Why not? And so straight away, it's familiarity. Yeah. I could have just said that in one word. It's familiarity.
Yeah. Big up Germany though. Like, they gave me a career, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm saying that I'm going about the UK, but it was like I found another home in Germany with that. I toured there. It was amazing. So yeah, I'm not saying anything against that. It was just like we've said before, the English rose, it's ours.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean?
Listen, we've even got a lot of streams from Germany.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just like, it's Joseph J. Jones. That's right. 100%.
Well, look, that's all right. Talking about artists and songwriters and being in industry yourself, we got a little game. You're a fan of the pod, you must know it. Shot Stopper.
Of course I do, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, while you've been talking, I've been scanning the room like, what the have they got there?
Do you know what? We want to get him on, so Kano here.
Oh, sick.
Duffy White.
My guy. K.A.
Yeah. So you can say that. It's sweet. It's quite nice. But we won't flood you with it.
Yeah. I'm moving house this week, mate. I've basically taken out all the plans in my diary that are going to like damage that situation. I didn't have this one down as doing that. So go general.
All right. I've got something down here that is like a cure. Like you don't even taste the alcohol. It's no percentage. But Shot Stopper, a game where we put two artists head to head. So I'm going to do it in the boxing term first of all, so we don't give any of our names away. So let's just say you want to go Roberta Duran or Sugar Ray Leonard. I might go, oh, that's a tough one. I don't know where to go with that. It's a shot. If you can decide, if you can decide, you move on. Yeah. All right, but you
got any nuts? I have to do this on an empty stomach.
Not that sort of pub, mate.
all my mates listen to you like that. lightweight.
Right.
I'm eyeing Faves as Chris, isn't it?
Looking at him.
He's got a sandwich down there.
Sandwich, Chris.
Right. So your Shot Stopper subtitle
Yes.
is Songwriters.
Great.
So
My lifeblood. Before you even start, you can spend when I do things like this or I do talks and stuff. You spend so much time talking about the artist proposition, which I know on paper looks like it's everything, but mate, the reason I am still here and 20 years in now is because of the songwriters. It's because of the songwriting community. It's because of my personal love for the craft that they work in, and it's the untold story of the music industry. The untold story of music for me is that for every song you love, if you even knew the story behind how that song was made, if you knew the layers of different personalities that have gone into it, if you knew the amount of versions of the song, if you knew what that writer was going through, at the time that they met the artist, honestly, it's without these guys, it's nothing basically. So it's actually still to this day, no matter what I'm doing, even though principal job is to work with the artist, I dedicate as much time as I can to just being around the Sneddens and people like that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I know you as a songwriter.
Yeah.
So that's why
that's the root of it, I guess.
Yeah. And I know you would appreciate it. And here we go anyway, right? So I've gone 2 big hitters here.
Have you got a shot ready?
Yeah.
Have you got the glass ready?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, as in, I'm gonna bang loads of shots here because there's so many people. I'll just be like, I can't call that.
Right, look, I'm not going to fill it.
All right, come on then.
Okay, Prince.
Don't even say it. Don't say MJ
or Adele.
Oh, obviously I gotta say Prince. Prince is the greatest of all time, but Adele is exceptional, and she is I guess what I was talking about before about what we export to the world. Jesus Christ, if there won't be anyone better to be the face of that over the last 20 years than her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As an artist.
Okay, so you've gone with Prince.
I've gone with Prince, yeah, definitely.
Prince or Johnny Cash?
I feel bad for you.
Yeah, personal preference.
He's like, Prince or Johnny Cash? No, it's going to be Prince, mate. I saw Prince at the O2 on his last tour, and from what I remember, it was ages ago, but it was incredible.
Oh, I wonder. Do you know what? We always do this, and I've done it on purpose.
Yeah.
There are some heavy hitters later.
Yeah, go on.
Right, so Prince or Taylor Swift.
Look after it for my daughter. Right?
Oh, really? No, the thing is, so my goddaughter, Etta, she is obsessed. She's 10 years old, and she was her dad's a DJ, drum and bass guy. I did not see it coming, but she's obsessed. So I kind of see it through, I'm looking at it like that, and I think it's weird, and I don't mind the music, it's fine. The 1989 record was good, that was a long time ago, but why am I waffling? Prince, obviously. I don't need to do this each time.
Prince or Bob Dylan?
Prince again. I'm not a Bob Dylan guy. Everyone's faking it now, innit? Because of the movie. Everyone's like, oh my God, I loved his early work. The New York years and shit like that. It's like, mate, no, you don't listen to Bob Dylan at home. Stop lying.
Yeah, I feel like he was a comedian taking an impression in that film as well.
I haven't seen it.
I've watched bits of it, and it was just like, I
haven't seen
hey, man, no, man. I was like, oh, shut up. Anyway, right, so Prince or Ed Sheeran?
No, you know what? Again,
heavy hitters though. That's what I'm going for.
You're joking. Obviously Prince every day, but Ed, with Adele, these people have carried our industry for 25 years now.
Yeah.
Chris Martin, Adele, Ed Sheeran. I was seeing something about James Blake saying, you know what? Everyone needs to stop gunning Coldplay because Chris Martin's a genius and.
I never got it. I never got why everyone would gun him. I even loved Viva La Vida and all that stuff.
Oh no, Viva La Vida is low key the best thing they've ever done, mate. I think, and I never thought that at the time.
Low key though.
Yeah, now going back to it, it's actually great. You're not going to get me on podcast bigging up Coldplay. But no, Prince over Ed Sheeran, definitely.
You watch when he dies or something like that.
Yeah,
Everyone will come out the woodwork and go, oh my God.
I was there at Glastonbury.
Yeah, they will do it.
All right, Prince or Leonard Cohen?
Leonard Cohen.
Prince again. Obviously, I'm going to do Prince, yeah.
Okay. Prince or Beyonce?
Prince.
Oh!
Over Beyonce. The thing is, this is I'll throw a big controversial one out there. I'm not really having Beyonce. Doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I've seen her live. I've seen the whole thing. Like, it just doesn't. I've never been able to be like, I'm really into this. It's always keeps me just at arm's length. And don't get me wrong, there's some incredible songs. Bit like what I'm saying. You go on her Songwriters, about 40 writers on it. So, I respect her, incredible businesswoman, incredible consistency, but no, not for me.
Not the first I've heard say that, though.
Yeah.
Like, my missus loves her.
If I
But
had to choose between Beyonce and Rihanna all day.
yeah.
Rihanna's hits all day over Beyonce's hits for me.
She's got to come back with something big, isn't she?
Rihanna.
Yeah,
She'll come out. She's going to do a stadium tour, isn't she?
She's got to put an album out first. She hasn't done one for about 10 years. Well, I guess she doesn't actually. She could
don't
just
need
do a
to.
stadium tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Me?
Yeah.
Prince.
I've always about to say Prince or me. I did like that football one. Yeah, go on.
Prince or Paul McCartney?
Oh,
You got him.
oh, come on.
That's tough.
That is.
Do you know what? I want a shot now, so I'm going to say I can't decide, but for me, it's Lennon McCartney over everybody. So in a way, for me personally, it's Lennon over everybody. But, if you're committed to the gospel that is the Beatles, then I'm never going to say anything other than something positive about Paul as well. So yeah, I'll take Paul, but Jesus Christ, that's a tie. You can tell I'm waffling. I can't actually
So
say
you're
it
shotting that?
I'll do a shot.
You don't have to. It's your personal preference. Who's going to have a go at you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's yours. This is what
But if I went to bed tonight saying McCartney, I know I'd wake up this morning and be like, sake, man, you're lying.
say
Do a
no
shot.
Right, what do you want? I've got limoncello. Well, this is pretty weak if you want
Go on,
a
then.
bit of that. Yeah?
I think you should have Duppy.
Yeah, I know. I can get you the duppy, though.
No, let me try the Kano thing.
Right. Hold on.
Let's see what that's saying.
Here we go. Kano, again, you come to the forefront. Duffy White.
Probably my favourite British artist right now.
Carl, mate.
Or for the last 10, 15 years.
Him and Mike Skinner for me. There you go. I'm not going to be mean.
No, don't be mean, mate. Be nice.
There you go.
House to move into.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Made in England, as Kano would say.
Yeah.
Where we at?
There's your chest.
That's actually really nice.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
So I'll take McCartney. I'm taking McCartney through to the next round now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, you
I am.
didn't need a shot for that.
Oh, okay.
No, but
You've raised a toast to Prince.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it was an impossible question, but I'm taking McCartney through.
I'd have loved to have seen this mashup, though.
would've been crazy.
We'll say it after.
Go on.
Paul McCartney or Frank Ocean?
Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Frank, don't get me wrong. I think Frank's got the potential to us to be sitting here when we're 60 and he's probably still only made one more album, but us to be talking about him still. I think we'll still be here talking about what he's doing creatively in 20 years' time. And that's the, a bit like, I say that, but it's like, I'm not comparing them, but I know for a fact in 20 years, I'll be having a conversation about a new Kano record or something new that Kano has done that is interesting me artistically. And that's all you can want from the artist that you follow. So props to Frank.
Would Frank Ocean have beat Dolly Parton? That's who is up.
Yeah, I guess so. Because I don't know how much, how many of her hits did Dolly write? I don't know. I actually don't know that.
I think she was a big songwriter.
Obviously, Willie wrote a lot of stuff for her, Willie Nelson, but I don't know how much she wrote.
Okay, so look, you've
But
got
Paul. Who's
Paul
next?
beats Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Paul McCartney or Kendrick Lamar?
Paul.
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think of Kendrick Lamar's new sort of phase?
I'm
by the way?
not. Again, I'm definitely too old to fake it, so I'm not going to sit here and say I've listened to the new album. I kind of, having been, hip hop was, like a lot of people, was my life from like 93 2003 to about 2005, I would say. And then weirdly, as I kind of as in it was everything for me. Those are the only acts I was interested in. Those are the only music I wanted to be involved in. And that was a phenomenal era of US hip hop. But kind of when you're out, you're out. I have found at my age. Yeah. So it's kind of mean I haven't really consumed anything. Well, I consume everything British, I should say, but nothing American anymore.
It's funny with him, I felt like he was the David Bowie of rap. And now he's like Flavor Flav, in a weird way. I don't know. He's just his stuff's just TikTok.
I don't think you can. I don't think he's the Dave, because David Bowie was an originator and he was the first of his kind. I think the issue that I have with Kendrick is that as amazing as he is, because I'm old as now and I've listened to hip hop for 20 years, I can hear all the influences of other things. So I can imagine being 15 and hearing Kendrick for the first time. You're like, what the? But if you've grown up and you can hear all the influences, so also never compare anyone to David Bowie, mate. Otherwise I'm out.
David Bowie, king. Okay, so
Paul McCartney or Stevie Wonder?
Oh, as a songwriter, not even as is this my who I want to listen to most, or is this just who do I
personal preference in any field that you want to class it in?
Do you know what? The weirdest thing about Stevie is if you get deep on looking into Stevie stuff and documentaries and things, I naively grew up thinking he was just this jolly songwriting blind dude, but he was actually a mad womanizer, mad drinker,
was he?
Yeah, completely wouldn't turn up for things. He was rock and roll as well. Wow. This is kind of we've got this image of him just being this lovable guy.
Yeah.
But so actually finding out more about that about him has made me love him even more, basically. So I'm gonna go Stevie.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay, so I didn't expect that. All right, Stevie Wonder or Lana Del Rey?
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, we don't.
Stevie Wonder or Billie Eilish?
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, we had Phineas next to Billie Eilish, but Phineas. Phineas. He's a Phineas. All right, okay. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, go on.
Or Joni Mitchell?
Stevie again.
Okay.
Stevie or Bruce Springsteen?
Woo! Bruce, the boss. The boss is Lennon, McCartney, Bruce, basically. I don't know if Bruce is necessarily 3 in the all-time Ali Fletcher rankings, but if there's if there's Messi and Ronaldo, and then underneath there's
Ronaldinho,
Zlatan, Ronaldinho, there's these other guys that are just godlike, but
insane.
They ain't the chosen one. Bruce is the godlike. So, and also with Bruce, I'm here to listen to it for my whole life. I won't ever grow out of listening to his key records in particular.
So you love Sam Fender?
Do you know what? So at first I really didn't like Sam Fender because I thought it was again a bit like the Kendrick thing. Now you're at that miserable old age like your mum was when she'd be like, the Oasis sound like the Beatles. Do you know what I mean? You'd be like, shut up, mum. I'm obviously now at the age where 20-year-olds in my office will be like, Sam Fender, what a guy. And I'm like, put the boss on, mate. Put the real thing on. But weirdly on this third album, which I've got into much more, I think he's expanded his influences, which is still lots of things from the 70s and 80s. But he's also kind of evolved the sound of Bruce. And if I'm honest, I've taken my head out my ass a bit, and I'm like, cool, man. If him doing this means that, I'm now going to make a Bruce Springsteen playlist and send it to one of my artists, which is actually true. I did that recently because they were they'll know who they are. They were like, oh man, Sam Fender. And I was like, listen to this, lad.
Yeah.
So if he's doing that, then great.
Oh mate, yeah. Props to Sam Fender. I think he's I loved, what was the one? Blue Monday.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was brilliant. And then where he's come to now, like you say, is carried on. He's carried on. Bruce.
Agreed.
What would he evolve into?
Agreed.
Bruce was comfortable where he was, and Bruce is Bruce. He's the boss. But okay, hold on. So
the boss is in charge now.
Right, the boss.
How long?
Or John Lennon.
I don't even know. I was saying, John forever.
Why?
Oh God, I think where I'm at in my life, so I think this era of my love for him has been understanding things about him more, and that's through, you know, the Get Back documentary, reading things, just becoming older myself. And, you know, God, I'm going to go deep into this, but, you know, the older you get, the more you understand love, the more you understand relationships, the more I understand. Thus, it gives you a better insight into his relationship with Paul, his relationship with Yoko, all the aspects of the whole thing, and just, you know, and all is said and done, being a normal guy from Liverpool that was just given this just God's gift. It's like Messi. It's like when you talk about Messi and you're like, how? Just how? And when I still to this day listen to, I would honestly say, realistically, I would listen in my house or in my headphones to 12 to 15 different Beatles songs every week. Never really in a row, but just like in passing, in shuffle, but they're always there. And you just pick up new things every time. You pick up new ad-libs, new harmonies. And so John, you know, as obvious as it is to say, but it's obvious because it's fact, is like it's John and Bowie number ones, man. They're
okay, John Lennon or The Weeknd?
Yeah, I don't even know saying it. Right, John Lennon or Carole King?
Johnny.
Yeah,
John Lennon or MJ?
Interesting thing about MJ's mythology is no one quite knows, and I've done I read all these sort of nerdy books about it, everyone's autobiography, everyone's podcast. You never quite know. No one's ever really clear about what he wrote and what he, like, don't get me wrong, he was involved in the creative process without question. But when you've got guys like, I've gone blank for the guitarist that wrote all the hooks. And obviously Quincy, and, you know, you've got all these creative people around them. Listen, a lot of this is said about David Bowie, I should add as well, is there's lots of people that say that Bowie was as amazing as getting a room of people that were really talented to write his stuff, you know, with him. But ultimately, when the credits came out, it just said written by David Bowie. But actually, there was loads of shit going on in and amongst it. And I think the mythology about MJ is kind of quite similar. So as as the craft of writing, I'm going to say I'm sticking with John, because that's a man and a guitar and his soul. Whereas I think MJ's thing comes from a different sort of skill.
Okay. Do you want to go with that one, or should you go with that one?
Yeah, let's throw it in there.
Go on then. You say it.
Oh, no.
All right, John.
Say it properly then.
John Lennon or R. Kelly?
You know what? Oh, this podcast is going to bring me down. Listen,
that's why you were scared to say it.
I can't fake it. No, but this is the thing. Like, you know, sometimes even when you're on the way to doing these things, you're like, oh, don't say anything dumb, or don't whatever. But the reality of it is, like, yeah, I'm where most of us are, where I'm uncomfortable listening to the music now.
Yeah.
I really pray, and I don't know how this happens, but I really pray and hope that eventually I won't feel this uncomfortable about it, because anyone that knows me will tell you I was a huge R. Kelly fan. Was.
Clearly saying was.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, by the time everything happened, I wasn't listening to his music, but like growing up, like him as a writer, like his era of power between 95 and 2005 was like, he was one of the greatest songwriters ever, mate. And especially in like, that was the first time American R&B had become a global thing, and he like led that, and that was the music I loved. You know, if there's Dr. Dre for hip hop, it was R. Kelly for R&B. Don't get it twisted. So yeah, obviously I'm going to pick John, but it's sad that I now can't listen to R. Kelly right now, and I really hope eventually I'm going to be able to. I don't know how, I don't know when that happens, but you know.
Yeah. Last one. I think that was coming.
Don't do it.
John Lennon or David Bowie?
Ooh. Oh. Jesus Christ. How can you answer that? Do you know what's double messed me up is that in the last few years I watched the Moon Age Daydream, which is the David Bowie documentary, and then Get Back, which is the Beatles documentary, which is like 7 hours long. And just by doing those, just by indulging in those things, and I can only, advise everyone to go and watch them, because the insight you get, and normally I've seen every documentary about everybody, but like in that world, and it's normally just like, and then he came into the studio and he just said, you know what, Starman, and started playing. or I just knew when he walked in the room. It's like that. But these documentaries give a real insight into both of them. And where Bowie, even in that documentary, where it's just on different levels, is that I think he pushed himself to change. Whereas John just evolved with it. It's like, this is now the thing I'm into. Whereas Bowie would be almost calculated with like, this is what we're doing next. This is this. Weirdly, I was watching the Luther Vandross documentary last week, and there's a whole bit on it which I didn't know, that Luther was David Bowie's backing vocalist.
Yeah, you didn't know that, man.
No, I knew a bit of the story, but I didn't know the details of it. And more interesting for me was that how within that it was showing how Bowie in that era had like pinpointed this type of soul music in the US, and was like, that's the thing. Fuck New York soul, like down south soul. There's this little thing going, I think it was in Philly, like no one's done that yet. I'm going to zone in on that. I'm going to move there, and I'm just going to spend 6 months only working with the writers and the community of that sound to build that sound. And then for the next album, I'm doing this in non-chronological order, but for Heroes, it's like, cool, I'm going to Berlin, I'm living a bunch of post office, I'm going to like eat soup, or like he goes in on it. And like, I just comparing like John, who's just the natural, like David is like a scientist as well. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to say Bowie. I'm going to say Bowie will always win.
Wow.
Always win, number one.
There you have it. David Bowie, Ali Fletcher's winner of Showstopper. Look, we're coming up towards the end now. We've got two final questions. What advice would you give to artists hoping to get signed?
I'd say my only advice used to be get that thought out of your head.
Really?
Forget about being signed.
Wow.
It's you cheesy statement, but you are signed already now. Do you know what I mean? Like, you are your own business, you're your own entity. I think the means are there for you to make your own music, release your own music. It doesn't need much funding. You have a better chance with funding, but I've truly believed that if you're putting music out yourself, and that is what draws people in, whether it's fans, but in particular labels, that's how you want the relationship to start. You want them to be attracted to you. Thus that gives you the power when you go into a relationship with them. So like, wanting to be signed, there's just something so thirsty about it now that I just think is unnecessary for an artist. I think it could always play a part in your elevation and your evolution, but for me, my advice to an artist is get that thought out of your head.
Yeah.
Okay. So what advice would you give to an artist that wants to get into the music industry?
I'm so conscious when I hear myself answering things like this, and it just sounds like, I can imagine, because I do these talks at universities, and you got to be careful because they're all going to hear the same thing. So I want to say authenticity and, give all these buzzwords, because there's so much truth in that, But I think if you're wanting to get into the industry, and do you mean it as an artist or doing it in my field or any of them?
As an A&R.
Okay, I think in what I do, I think going back to what I said at the start of this pod, it's work rate, it's commitment, it's going the extra mile. I think that is still something that, for as long as there are people like me in senior positions, we will respond to best. It's something that I think everyone, the older you get, you always go, oh, everyone younger is lazy now. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure my bosses said it about me, I'm sure. But I think application and work rate, if I'm honest, Fabs, like that's the main thing. Taste is so subjective. It's like, your thing might not be my thing, but it doesn't mean your thing's bad. It's like, I'll listen to anyone who has a passionate opinion about music. So if I bring in a scout or someone like that works for me, all I want them to do is be putting it in front of me and putting it on me constantly about ideas, and you know, and for it to be based around their taste.
Wicked. Well, there you have it. Listen, that's Ali Fletcher. Before we go, I just want to say thank you to you.
Thanks, mate.
And thank you for... It's funny because we come into this and you wanted to talk more about me and my journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's more credit to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's about you, and it's like A&R in, and we want to do that. And we did touch a little bit on me, but I would just like to say, on record, thank you very much for believing me along the way. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard as an artist to get out there, and especially at the time where labels were the thing to do. Like, you know, you stuck by me, you know, you believed me, you were a big part in me getting to that next stage, which effectively got me to sign to Universal. But mate,
listen, I think on that note is like, any A&R, any manager, our story is defined by you guys. So that was why it was logical for me to want to say that. It's because this is the best scenario, because, you know, I can knock it all the way straight back to you, which is actually what I do for a living. You know, it's like we're relying on your talent. We are, and you know, I learned this. It took me a while to learn this, but I've learned it now that, like, you know, it's all about you guys basically. So
yeah, wicked. Listen,
thank you, mate.
That is the bar shut, the Champion Contender over. Tune in next week.
Big love.
Peace.
Big love.
See you guys. Thanks, man.
That was class.
Love that.
Quality.